Hello and good morning, all you blockers out there. Welcome to block number 10. This is our basket full of love. Can you believe we're already at 10? Almost done, like we just have 2 more to go. But I want to go ahead and just kind of touch base anybody that possibly looked at the measurements and everything on Facebook. Thank you to Laura, because she brought to my attention that what our block B, our piece B, is measured. It is in the measurements that I was given is 3 7/8, but it wasn't adding up. And I recall when I went to sew mine together, I had to kind of place everything to the top, and then I had to trim the bottom part off when I got my pieces together, because I was like, well, that's the only way that it's going to look right. So that's what I ended up doing. But I went ahead and changed it on our cards here, and I also went back and changed it on to Facebook. So if anyone has already started to cut out the pieces, luckily it is a quick fix. You can go from 3 7/8 to 3 1/2, lickety split, so no worries with that. But I want to go ahead and let's get started on what we are piecing, or I should say cutting our pieces. And anyone that does not get the newsletter or get Facebook, you will want these measurements to go ahead and get started. So we are going to need our piece A over here is going to be one color, and you need 4 of those at 3 7/8 inch. And our piece B, we want to be the same color as our A piece, and we need 1 at 3 1/2 inches. Our piece C, we want 2 pieces at 3 1/2 by 6 1/2, and we want that to be the same color as B and A. We come over to our piece D. We want 3 of those at 3 7/8 inch, and we want 1 color. And I do want to point out that the 1 color, if you look into the big block, these are supposed to represent what our flowers would be. So what I did is I put these as my flowers, because they are actually flowers. And the red is going to symbolize the love, so that's why everybody should have a red piece. The red in the center is the heart of the basket. And then I just used my green to just kind of use as my foliage, I guess. So if that kind of gives you an idea of what you may want to place for your piece D, these are going to be the ones that are going to represent your floral pieces out of your basket. And then we're going to come over here to piece E. You want 1 at 3 7/8 inch, and this is the one that I'm telling you you need for it to be the red piece, because this is what makes this block. It is our standout piece. It is the love, the center of the block. And piece F, we want 2 at 3 7/8 inch, and you want that to be 1 color. In piece G, you want 1 at 6 7/8 inch, 1 color. On this, you will want to go ahead and make the 6 7/8 inch block. Cut it in half. You're just going to have that extra piece into your scrap pile that you may be able to use later in another block. And piece H, our last piece, needs to also be the same color as piece G, and it's 1 3 7/8 inch. And that is what is going to make and represent our basket down here. Okay? This is really kind of off of last week, where we did some of the piecing, and it was kind of like your flying nun pieces. This is going to be a little simpler, but this and last week is tying into what next week is going to bring. So This one is a little bit simpler than last week. Hallelujah. I know everybody had some issues with that, and you know, you just got to take it slow. And like I said, you have to. You've got to make sure your pieces are laid out, and you have to do them like one at a time. Because if you try to gather up too many of them, I'm sure that many of you experienced that they were upside down, you had to rip because they were turned the wrong way. So you want to make sure that you're going through, you're flipping them, take it over, stitch it, press it, bring it right back, lay it back down. You're going to save yourself a whole lot of worry and grief by doing that. Trust me. I say that because I did that a few times. So what we're going to do to get started is we are going to work on focusing on this big block right down here that contains all of our florals and our heart, our foliage, and the bottom part of our basket. But the first thing that we're going to do is we want to take and we want to flip these pieces right on top, right sides together, okay? And on this one, you could actually, if you have your pins, let me grab my pins. If you have your pin and you flipped and you go ahead and you put a pin right here where you're going to have to stitch, this is telling you that this is where I need to stitch on my longer side here. Then you could go through and you could turn all of these over just like this, and you could pin so that you know what is supposed to go with what and how it's supposed to go. And then you could take them over and you could do a chain stitch with these. Last week it was a little harder, and next week you will not want to do this whole chain stitch because it will be nothing but confusing. So make sure that next week we definitely do one at a time. And so we're going to go through now our on this piece. Well, let me go ahead and do this one here real quick. And on the center part where it has our heart on my basket, it's the beginning of what I'm calling my foliage. I want to put those two together, okay? And then just leave the others be for the moment. All right, so we could take all of these over and go ahead and stitch these up. Go ahead and do your chain stitch, and then take them apart, press them, and we'll get going on the next part here, okay? Okay, I wanted to just touch base with you guys real quick because a lot of you know that we just picked up the FOF line, the machine line, and this is our Quilt Ambition 630 machine by FOF. And let me tell you, these machines are quiet. They are so cool. And on this, like I have a piecing foot that I'm using, and it has the little guided edge here. But if you look, can you get that? Can you see on top of the bobbin case in the window, there is a line right there that's marked your 1/4 inch for this machine. So, and it lines right up with that little guide right there that's also for a 1/4 inch. So right there, if you ever, in dismay and say, oh my goodness, I wonder if I'm still at a 1/4 inch, all you got to do is follow this little line. How cool is that? So let's go ahead on this. Unfortunately, it is not put the presser foot down electronically. You do still have to lower this down. And it also, look back here, can you see this? This is the IDT system. And this is a built-in walking foot with this machine. Let me go ahead and let's show you. I do have it engaged. And listen, and listen how quiet it actually purrs. It purrs. Listen. How exciting is that? Where's my friend? I need my awe so I don't get my fingers sewn in here together. And then when I go to here, then I just lift and cut. Oops. Don't lift yet. It says don't lift. Go ahead and do my cutter. And now lift. And look. I mean, this machine has a cutter. Oh, it's so pretty. It's so pretty. We love this. We love this machine. And I know Liz, everybody knows Liz, she has ordered an Ambition 620 machine, just a little lower than this one, less stitches, a little bit other, few little things, but all of her beautiful quilts that she makes will be coming off of her quilt machine when she gets it. Unfortunately, it's not going to be until November, but hey, it's going to be worth the wait. So everybody go ahead and do your chain stitch, and we'll reconvene in just a moment. Okay, so now after we have everything pressed, after we stitched all of those, we did the chain stitch, right? We bring them over, lay them all back out. Very, very important, especially from last week. I hope that maybe everyone saw how important it is to make sure that you're laying everything out exactly the way it's supposed to be. Because when you go to flip those again, you want to make sure that they are going to be in the proper sequence, okay? So what we're going to do here, oh, and real quick, if you wanted, you're going to have the dog ears at the end. It's totally up to you if you want to go ahead and take those away. Just trim them off. I went ahead and did that in this one. I usually don't mess with it, but I know some of you have a heart attack if I don't. So I don't want you having a heart attack during this. It's rough enough. And then also I want to touch real quick, because I know that there were a couple of people that are not wanting to, what do I want to say? They're not wanting, what's the word? Stay flow. Starch, thank you. Okay, just kind of went out there for a minute. They are not wanting to go ahead and starch all of their fabrics, and they're trying to do it piece by piece. And when you do that, if you ever really check your pieces, and if you have a piece that's already cut out and you are spraying your starch onto your piece, and it starts to kind of shrivel, you're losing about 1/8 of an inch around. So if you cut something that's 2.5, by the time it's all done, you know, you're losing 1/8 of an inch all the way around. And so when you go to do your 1/4 inch, it's going to be less than what it's supposed to be. Therefore, your blocks are not going to turn out the way that you're expecting them to. So make sure, if you are adamant about doing the whole starch as you go method, starch the whole piece that you're going to cut out first, starch that, and then cut your piece. Because otherwise, if you're cutting your pieces and you're starching, you're losing, and therefore your blocks are smaller than what you're anticipating them to be. So keep that in mind, folks. All right, so back to our block here. We are going to take now, and we're going to do this top row. So we are going to flip the one that's closest to my right hand right on top of the center of the block there. And let's go ahead and put a pin where it is that we're going to want to stitch that. And I'm going to want to do that right here. So I'm going to stitch along the right side, my right side of this block. And then we're going to take this block, after we press the one that we're going to piece together, we're going to take and we're going to flip this right on top on this side, okay? And then we're gonna take these two that are my right column here, and we're going to flip this right on top of this one. Make sure that you put your pin where it is that you're gonna want that stitched. And let's go on over and stitch these up. Press them out when you're finished, and we'll be right back. All right, so now we have stitched the 3 pieces together from the top, the 2 on the side, and we have pressed those. So bring those over. We're going to lay those about where they're supposed to be and let those just stay right there. Now we're focusing on the center part. We've already got our heart and our foliage, so let's kind of scoot that out of the way so that we can get to these pieces. And these, your long sides should be against your vase, okay? We're calling this our vase base. How about that? And so these 2 pieces here should be long ways, and then your mountains should be pointing toward your center piece here. So we're going to take one of these mountains that's right down just, well, I'm standing here looking at it, when it's in front of me, just straight down from the heart of your basket there, of the flowers. And we're going to bring this piece just straight up. Just fold it just straight up. Take your pin so that you don't get confused and pin the part that you're supposed to be stitching, okay? We're going to stitch this one, press it, come back, lay it down so that you can fold this one over, and then make sure you pin it, stitch it, press it, and then we'll reconvene. Okay, so now that we have our center piece, so our heart of the basket with our foliage, we are now going to attach the base, or the vase, the basket. We're going to just take this bigger piece and we're going to flip it right on top, like so. And we're going to pin that because we want to make sure we're stitching on the right side. Okay, we'll take that over, stitch and press that up. Okay, we now have our base vase attached to our heart of the basket and the center foliage. So now we are going to take the 2 pieces that were off to my right side here, and we're going to flip those right on top of that center piece. And here we're going to want to make sure that when we put our pins that we are lining up so that we get our points, okay? So let's make sure that we line that up and take that over to stitch that up, and make sure that you press it when you're finished. Bring it back over and go ahead and attach the top part. So you're going to have this, it's going to be laying open, and you're going to lay this right on top of all of that after that is pressed. Make sure if you have any seams, which you will, you're going to have these 2 seams, this one and here, that you're going to need to match up with these 2 to be able to get your points. So make sure that you match that up as well. Okay, so let's try that. Okay, we have now our center block and our edge blocks connected. So we're going to scoot this aside, and now we're going to focus on our L shape here. As you see, you've got these 2 pieces that of course are going to flip on top of each other just like so. And take your pin, mark where you're going to stitch. We're going to stitch in that side, and then let's go ahead and do this other one. So we're going to flip that right on top, and we are going to put a pin where we want to be able to stitch. So we are going to take these over, we're going to stitch those together, we're going to press those open, and then we're going to come back, lay them out, completely out, to where we can take and flip this on top. We're going to stitch, and then we're going to put this one right on top of that, just like this, and we're going to stitch, press those. We're doing the same thing with this piece, and come back. You should have these two together and all of these together, okay? All right, so now that we have the long strip to the left side, my left side, done, and then we have the bottom two pieces connected there, we are going to take those bottom two, we're going to push this one out of the way for right now. We're going to take these bottom two, and we are going to flip this on top of our square that we completed. And I want you to make sure, concentrate more on making sure that this is squared off here, and let any excess over to the side. Okay, so make sure that everything is matching up over here. You're going to go ahead, we know that we're going to stitch down this side here. So we'll take that over and do our stitching, press, and then we are going to put these together over here. When we come back, we're going to grab this piece and lay it on top. Make sure that if you have anything that needs to match up on the sides, that you're making those pinpoints show together. And then stitch that down the long side here, just like this, and we'll be all done. So I'll see you back here in a second. Okay, so when you are completed, you should have a basket full of love. Isn't that a pretty piece? So this concludes our block number 10. And I kind of have laid out, because I was trying to get it done before this, but you can kind of take a sneak peek of Bright Stars. This is our layout for Bright Stars for block number 11, which is next week. And I will have all of the information on Facebook, just like we do on Fridays, for this particular block. And if anyone has any questions or anything, please don't hesitate. Get a hold of me, send through Messenger, call, Facebook, whatever you want. And what I would like to do though is, if everybody, when you post this block, since we are getting close to the end, let me know what your favorite block has been so far. Because something tells me that the next two are not going to be in the favorites list. But let me know what you've thought so far. I would really like for you to send me messages. Many of you have already. Just to let me know some things for the sampler 2 that maybe you would like for me to slow down or show more of, or just kind of, this, like I said, we're still trying this out. We're still trying to narrow everything down to be able to get a good production to you. But it's not that easy, and we put a lot of time into this. So I hope everyone has really enjoyed all of the blocks. We will have a couple of more videos that you need to check on with talking about doing the backing. Right now, if anyone is wanting to do any of the woven fusible on the backs of your pieces here, if you're wanting to do that on the backs, like we did, let me go over here. I still have some of the later blocks that I need to do that to. So like the last 3, I do recommend that on your blue blocks that everybody do at least put that woven fusible to give it a little more sturdiness onto your glue blocks, as well as the blocks, or I should say your triangle, your border pieces. There will be a video discussing how to cut these if you have not done that yet. So we'll go over that. And if you do need to go ahead and put your backing, if you are going to do that, and you want to use the woven fusible on the backs, as you can see, it takes care of all of those seams, closes them all up. You don't have to worry about whether you're going to fold one over or not. They're all encased in the woven fusible backing. That's why I do that. That's why I love it so much. But now would be the time to be making sure that you have those backed if you are doing the backs. And like I said, we're getting closer, just 2 more blocks. And let me come back around here. So we saw that this one here is Bright Stars. You'll see this show up. This is going to be for next week, and if anyone wants to go ahead, you see your cutting instructions on that right there. Go ahead, freeze frame, and mark that all down so you get ahead of the game. And all right, I think we're ready for our treat of the day, which was actually very healthy stuff today. We've got some dried fruits and nuts. I have been snacking on those because I didn't have breakfast. And so that is what everyone will get when you come in this week. Make sure that you let us know. We get talking so much that we completely forget and forget to pass that out to you. We don't mean to. We want to make sure everybody gets their treat. And this week, our free 1 yard goes to Connie Jackson. Connie Jackson is doing 2 blocks, and I posted both of those actually this morning. She did get them in on time. But Connie, you get 1 free yard and a bunch of nuts. So I hope that you're not allergic to nuts or anything like that. If you are, share them with your daughter. Okay, well guys, I guess that concludes for today. Anybody, like I said, have questions, please make sure to contact me, and we will see you next Tuesday. All right, peace out.